Well, hi. Welcome to the Blue Daisy coffee shop in Serenbe, Georgia. Sorry about the background noise, but we're going to have background noise today because my Wi-Fi at my home office is kaput. Hi, Julia. So welcome to the Christel Crawford show this week. And yeah, hi, Dwight. Hi, Maggie. Hi, Murda. Hi, Wes. So we're going to have a little bit of background noise today, but I want to dive into one of my favorite topics, and that is creating money to go to a class, specifically a foundation class or any class or anything else. These tools apply. I have a bunch of live classes coming up all around the world, and one of the things that I hear more than anything is I'm choosing it, and now what would it take for the money to show up? Okay. So let's talk a little bit about some of my favorite things. I want to talk a little bit about what is foundation? What's that class? What will it do for you? How does it change things? Why go? Anyway, I'm going to talk about all that too. But I want to dive into first, since we've got the first half of the show. And if you guys have any questions about this, like if you have questions about creating money to go to things, to have what you'd like to have, just let me know and I'll talk about them. But I would tell you, this is between you and me, my favorite tool. You ready? To create money to go to a class. I'm not shitting you. It's going to sound cheeky as fuck. Is choice. That is my favorite tool. All right, so let me talk about that. What do I mean? So I was taught growing up that you create the money first, or you create the savings first, and then the money shows up. I was really taught the backwards thing, which I mean sounds logical. Like you don't choose it unless you have the money, right? And I've talked a lot about different money tools, and so I've talked about this before. But what I was never taught or empowered with is that the moment you truly choose something is the moment you become everything required to actually have that thing. And it doesn't matter what the thing is. It doesn't matter if the thing's a class or a car or a boyfriend or sex or chocolate cake. The moment you choose that thing, you become whatever it is that you need to actualize that. Number one. Number two, you also give the signal to the universe. It's not a signal. You become the energy that the universe can actually contribute to. Number three, in that moment when you choose, you're a receiving machine. You're a receiving magnet. And listen, I have looked at this in every single thing that has shown up in my life. This is exactly what occurs. It doesn't matter if I'm choosing to live in a new place or buy a new car or get my car fixed, or my car's in the shop right now just getting like totally refurbed, like all the spark plugs and all the things, and it's just getting lubed and treated well. And I also left the sunroof open, so it's drowning on the inside. So they water vacked it and like took out panels, and they're letting it dry. So it's gonna cost a bit of money. And before I took it in, I knew that it was gonna cost some money, and I'm like, well, I'm choosing it. So what's it gonna take for that money to show up? And the money is shown up. Money is here. And that is how money works. So what I would invite you to look at is with anything that's not shown. So let's say you want to go to a class, or you say you want to go to, right? Like, I'd really like to go to that class. I hear people say that a lot. I'd really like to go to that class. Okay, cool. I'd really like to go. Does that create the class? Yes or no? Oh, it'd be so nice to go to that. Oh, that class would be so amazing. Does that actually create the class? No. Okay, fine. So then what does? Well, the choice to go to the class. So I had to start looking in my own world for moments or examples of when I knew I was choosing something and when I didn't choose something. I had to just start looking at because when I first started with all this choice stuff, actually being conscious about choice, because that's really what we're talking about here. We're talking about choosing things from an awake place, right? You're consciously choosing this. Yeah, I'm going to have that. I have no idea how I'm going to have that. When I first started choosing Access Consciousness classes, which they're a higher price point than a lot of things, I didn't know how to do that. I didn't have any experience. The biggest thing that I had actualized, and I didn't even have that word up to that point, was I had moved myself. I'd gone on a big move. Grew up in Colorado, and I moved myself to Alabama. And that move cost me about $2,000 and change. I had to be able to do that. I was only making, at my job, I was working a desk job, and I was only making like the bare minimum to make rent and groceries and skincare, barely. So to move myself, I had to go get a second job at Outback Steakhouse and earn tips. But I'd never done that before, and I'd also never saved money before. Like, I had no money skills at all. I'd only ever done survival because that's all I'd ever seen. So I ended up, let me tell you this story. It's actually a good story. So what happened was I was working a desk job as an administrative assistant for an architect. It was very lovely, but I was so bored, and I got that itch. You know how you get that itch where you're like, there's more, and no, there's more. So anyway, I was still going to church at the time, and I went to church, and there was a visiting pastor there. And he was just awesome. He was like this ex-rock and roll guy, hippie guy, did a lot of drugs and alcohol. And he was, and he had such a different point of view on the Bible. And he incorporated like psychology and Eastern mythology and Christianity. And it was this whole big, I found out he had a Bible school. And I was 23, 24. So I hadn't gone to university. I didn't have my degree. And so I heard him speak, and I was like so inspired. It was like he was, and the same thing occurred when I found Access Consciousness, actually, but this was like 20 years prior. So I just felt like he was speaking my language, and so I found out he had a school, and I was like, I have to go to that. And I'd never done anything like that. I hadn't left the state, that I was living in. I hadn't rented a truck or I didn't. And so I had to go. But I sat on the fence with I have to go for, I don't even know how long, 4 or 5 months. I was corresponding by email with one of the ladies that ran the thing. And she finally said, why don't you just book a flight and come down here and see what it's like? I'd never booked a flight before. But anyway, I figured that part out. And the flight was only, I don't know, a couple $100. So I got on a flight and I went down there, and I just felt more at home than I'd ever felt in my life. Got back on the flight home, and at the time I was living with 2 roommates who were about to get married. So it was me, that was the third wheel, and these 2 people were in the master bedroom. I had like the side little bedroom, and so they picked me up from the airport, and it was kind of awkward. And so all the signs were pointing to it was time to make a different choice. And I just didn't know how to do it, but I got home and I was like, I don't care what it takes anymore. I'm gonna go. So once that choice occurred, once I actually had that moment, there was that moment in my world, the ideas came. Once there was the choice, the ideas came. They didn't come before that moment, and they never do. And that's when I was like, okay, so how am I going to do this? Well, I require more money. And at the time, the thing I knew to do to create more money was go wait tables, because I'd been doing that since I was 18. That was easy. It was a second job. I could do my day job and not quit that, and I could also have a second job. And yes, it was going to be a lot of work, but in that moment, none of that mattered because I was having it. And that's how choice works. So you'll know when you're choosing something, because it won't matter to you what it takes to have it. You won't care. You'll just be like, yeah, okay, I have to bake 18,000 pies and sell them all. Okay, fine, right? And so anyway, I got a second job, and within 2 months I had the money to move, and I moved myself to Alabama. And that Bible school was one of the first best decisions I've ever made in my whole life. And it was actually a huge part of why I'm here today. So when things aren't showing up, you just got to go, hey, am I really choosing this? And this is where brutal honesty with yourself is so helpful. It's just helpful. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but it's more than that. It's just helpful. It's like, no, I'm not really choosing that. I don't really care. Or do I really want to go to this? I mean, I do. It'd be nice. But, so when you hear yourself saying all those kinds of things, you're just not choosing it. That's all. The moment you choose it is the moment that you become the creative source for what occurs in your life. So there's all these like other tools that you can use around choice, but all of them have to do with getting to what's really true for you in a moment. And the thing is that what's true for you in this moment might be different in the next, and you'll always get to be with that and choose. So what do I mean by that? So one of the things that occurs with a lot of these things that we think we want, including a class that we think we want to go to, and I'm not talking you out of coming to foundation class, because it is one of the most life-changing classes I've ever facilitated or been a part of. I'll talk about that in a minute. But what I do want to give you is that you are also very, 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 very psychic. Not psychic like crystal ball psychic. I mean, you pick up on 8,000 to 8,000 people's everything in every direction all the time. All their thoughts, all their feelings, all their desires, all their goals, all their business stuff, everything, everywhere. And for me, that awareness of that ability has only gotten more and more poignant as I've used these access consciousness tools to clear out unconsciousness. That has gotten more and more poignant. So what do I mean by that? Well, you could very easily be functioning from somebody else's wish and desire and think it's yours. For a really, really long time, I thought I wanted to have kids. But then I was always back and forth about it. But then I would come back to, well, yeah, I want to have kids. And so I got married for the first time and we didn't have kids, and that ended. And so I was married for the second time, and I'm in my mid-30s, and you know how it goes as a woman, where you're like, well, I should probably start thinking about kids. Everybody else is, right? Why wouldn't I? And so I, did that. And so we started going, well, if we really want this to be a thing, like, it's not occurring, so we should probably go get things checked out. And so we did, and went through the whole fertility testing, and it's a big pain in the ass. And then, so they do all these tests to see what's working, what's not. They did this test to see if my fallopian tubes were working. That was super painful because they weren't working. And then I had to have a surgery to confirm that they weren't working. Anyway, I got done out of that surgery, and it turns out they had to do the surgery so that I would be eligible for in vitro and a subsidized in vitro thing. It was a whole thing. And so I get out of the surgery, and it's more sore than I've ever been. And I'm like, so now I'm eligible to pay $6,500 for a chance at getting pregnant instead of $12,000. I mean, that was better. And that really made me look at it like, do I care? And for about, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, I just felt really sad. Like, I couldn't have kids. This was very sad, and da-da-da. But then, I don't know, the fog cleared, and I started looking at it, and I'm like, this is a choice. Do I actually want to make this choice? And it was really, really clear that it wasn't my choice. I had no real interest in having kids at all. And as soon as I actually let myself have that as a reality, like have that be true for me, there was so much peace. There has been so much peace in my world ever since. And you still hang around family, and they're, my sisters and my mom especially, like, you sure you don't want to adopt? And even other people, random people you run into in bars and on airplanes, like, there's still, it's like they'll say, well, do you have any kids? And I'm like, no. And they'll say, well, it's not too late. It's never too late. And they comfort me as if surely that desire is somewhere in my world, because isn't it for everybody? And the answer is no, it's not. It's not there for everybody. And neither is the desire to grow old with somebody there for everybody. And neither is the desire to have a multi-million-dollar business there for everybody. And neither is the desire to have a little Yorkie puppy there for everybody. With some stuff that seems really obvious. Like, of course, some people want Yorkies and some people want pit bulls, right? Like, duh. But with other things, we just assume that, of course, they're good things. And so, therefore, of course we want them, right? No. You always have to ask, hey, who does this belong to? Is it mine or someone else's? Is this mine? Because I know me. And this is where you got to start to really observe you. Be honest with yourself. Go, hey, what happens when I want something? Like when I'm having something, what occurs? Do I not have it? Is that even a choice that I leave myself, or do I just find a way to have it? And you might discover that you always find a way to have it. And so, are you just having this glass? Or is something else going on? So then a lot of times what we do from there is we try to like pock and pod ourselves, like destroy and uncreate ourselves into choosing something we think we should choose. Well, maybe if I just pock and pod this enough, then I'll want to choose it, right? Maybe if I just pock and pod, well, what's the problem? Why wouldn't I want to choose this? I really want to choose. Of course I want to choose this. This is a great class. Like, why would I not? Everybody else is choosing it, you know? And so can you give me a clearing statement to change me not choosing it? And what I would just say is, you know, what energy and space of consciousness can you and your body be to have what you truly desire with total ease? And everything that doesn't allow that to show up, just destroy and uncreate it. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, pop, all names, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And a lot of this can sound like it's counter to what the end result that you may have even gotten onto this Facebook Live to create. Like, oh my God, tools to create money for classes. Oh my God, you know. Here she is telling me to pock and pod myself and ask, well, who does that really belong to? But see, what that's going to do is actually get you to the space of you where in that, as if you're trying to choose as somebody else, all your choices are going to be off because you're not actually being you. But when you're choosing as you, when you're creating your life as you, then your choices work because they work for you. That doesn't mean they'll always be easy. Doesn't mean, you know, but all of life comes to you with ease and joy and glory. That can be your reality. So I would recommend asking, who does this belong to, for every thought, every feeling, every point of view, every desire you think you have. And go, is it mine or someone else's? And just get the awareness so that you can start to get a sense of what's really true for you. And then start really observing what happens when you choose things. Like, go scouting for clues, because I had to really go looking because I was so unconscious for all my life. I was using this tool forever, but I didn't know I was doing it. I just knew that at some points, you know, some points in my life, there was things happened easier than other things. But I had to sort of get a microscope and dissect, like, how does this work for me? So you might have to do that same thing for yourself. I do want to talk about Foundation, because Access Consciousness Foundation is a 4-day class that will give you a completely different platform to create your life from. And I actually have a woman that works with me. Her name is Liga. She has been taking a lot of my online classes, a lot of people's online classes for years, and has never once taken a foundation class. And she still struggles with, and so she's got a lot of tools. Like, you can get all the Access Consciousness tools from all these online classes. A lot of us are just prolific creators, and if you take all of our classes, you're going to get a lot of fucking change, because these tools will change you. And they have for her, and she's really different. But every once in a while, she'll have a thing, because she joins in the classes that I do online, and she'll have a thing, and I'm like, if you take Foundation, this thing that keeps coming up for you will just be different. And I don't really know how to explain that. I don't know. There's something about, for a full 4-day stretch with other people and a facilitator, that energetically, it's the other people being there that exponentializes things. It's the choices everybody's making in those 4 days. It's the body work that we do during those 4 days. Like, I've never done anything like a foundation class before in my life. And I actually have 2 ladies that work with me that are going to take a foundation with me in the next, I'm just reading your comments, getting the foundation from you, I am. Oh, awesome. Anyway, another lady that works with me, I was like, you have to get yourself to a foundation class. So she's flying out to Calgary to do the one out there. But I've got a foundation in Calgary. There's 2 Canadian foundations. I might even add a 3rd one in Ontario. You guys have to let me know if you want that. There's a foundation in London, England. There's going to be, those might be my 3 foundations right now. Anyway, I've got 3. You can join. But even there's 660 certified facilitators all around the world. And so I would just recommend that you look at the energy of the class. Okay, this is tool number 4 for creating money for a class. Look at the energy of the class and ask it a question. Do yourself a favor and always ask questions. And this is what I did. So one of the ladies that works with me, her name's Sherry Lee Wojcik, and she is she's got a Facebook marketing business. She will teach you how to do Facebook marketing. You got to check her out. Thank you, Miss Andrea. I read that. Thank you. Why was I telling you this? she's got her own business. Oh, okay. So she's pretty new to the tools of access consciousness. And I know we talk a lot about, hey, listen, don't just come to conclusion about things. Actually ask questions, right? Well, I'm a conclusionist of magnitude. I grew up with a conclusionist of magnitude. Sherry Lee, my friend, is a conclusionist of magnitude, and meaning that when you're in conclusion, like your head tripping all the time, you're trying to figure out the right thing, and you're like, well, what about this? Well, what if this doesn't? And you're worrying, and you're doubting, and you're doing all these weird things, and like, but that's normal life, which makes choosing things really, really hard. And so she and I stay in touch on Voxer because we work together. And, you know, she was having a day where she really wanted to choose to go to Calgary, but was really struggling with it. And so anyway, she was boxing me, and she's like, Jesus H. Christ in a basket. You should have seen me choosing. I was this way and I was that way, and I was trying to figure this out, and I was trying to do that. And then I was worried about this and doubting. I was like, I had kind of forgotten what choosing kind of was, which was really this one big head trip to try to figure out the right choice. And that's my other favorite tool, is that there isn't a right choice. There's only choices. Choice creates. That's it. So everything you choose, every mindset you choose, every space you choose, every point of view you choose, or you don't even know you're choosing, every unconscious point of view, every conscious point of view, it all just creates. And you'll have some choices that create a greater future and some choices that destroy your future. And I've done both in great amounts. So what I invite everybody to do, that I coach with, that I facilitate, that I talk to as a friend, is like, hey, do yourself a favor and let yourself get out of your head. And the way I do this is like this. I look at the choices in front of me. Choose to go to Calgary. Will my life get greater? Yes or no? And then I go with the word that pops, because there will always be a word that pops up if you let it. And if there isn't one that just pops up, you've already decided something. So here's the trick. So if something pops, so truth, will my life get greater? Yes or no if I choose this? Yes. Okay, great. Then choose it. Now, if you ask that question and you're like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, then here's the trick. You want to destroy and uncreate everything you've already decided, everything you've already judged, everything you've already computed, everything you've already concluded about it. Because if you're not getting any clarity or a sense of a yes or no, you've already made some sort of decision about it, or your judgment about it. So just go everything that is, all the DJCCs, right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all my insurance, poison, beyond. So that thing is the clearing statement. So powerful. And then ask a question. Okay, truth, if I choose to go to Calgary, will my life get greater? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, done. Now what's it going to take? Well, what can I choose first? You know? And I recommend there's choices that are super simple to make. Like, truth, if I go get a coffee, will my life get greater? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, great. Walk to this thing, get a coffee, right? It's $2, $3, $6 if you're getting fancy. Choices like access classes are a little bit bigger, right? And a lot of times you're traveling to go to one, right? So you've got a flight and you've got a hotel a lot of times. And I recommend booking something as a start. Register yourself for the class, because that's you choosing it. And then book something. Follow it up with booking something, because this is what I do with my classes, is I will go immediately and start looking at flights, and I will go onto booking.com and I will book my hotel. The booking my hotel doesn't usually cost me any money up front. And booking my flight, I know that if I need to, I can change it, but it gets me, I'm in at that point when I book my flight. I have changed flights before, but for the most part, if I book my flight, I'm going. So, and then I go, okay, now what do I have to generate to have this? So I require money for the class. So what can I create to have it? And ideas start coming in and money starts coming in, and then I set myself up for success by putting that money as it comes in either aside or I pay for the class right away. But that is you choose, you act, and you engage energetically. That's how you actualize anything. Choose it, act, and engage energetically with it. Choose, act, and engage. Choose, act, and engage. Choose, act, and engage. And if you're skipping any one of those steps, you don't actually want to go. And that's okay. Just go, well, I guess I don't really want to do this. Okay, cool. Or do I? And the moment you get really honest with yourself of, I guess I don't want to do this, is the moment you'll have another choice. And this is the gift of the 10 keys to total freedom, which is you have a new choice in every 10 seconds. So choose not to go. Fuck it. I've done that with classes I'm going to facilitate, where I'm like, it has a wonky energy. I don't really want to go to that country. I'm not even that interested anymore. I'll take it off the calendar. I'm like, I'm not going. Energetically, I'm done. I'm firing it. What happens? Does my life get greater? Does it become more spacious? Does it work better? Does it get less great? Like, what occurs when I actually choose something else? And, the clearing statement, hey, Shelly, is right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And you can get a full rundown of that at theclearingstatement.com. One of the most epic tools on the planet. I love it. And Shelly, if you're new to all this stuff, by the way, the original clearing is kicking my ass. Oh, cool. If you want a clearing that will really start to create a lot of freedom for you guys, go to theawarenesschallenge.com and you can download what I've called the core challenge, which is a clearing I got from Gary Douglas. That's something else you can start to use to start getting a sense of what you would like your life to be like. Because again, we're so psychic, so we think we want our life to be like this and think we want our life to be like that, and we keep going as if all this stuff is ours. But that will start to actually clarify for you energetically what you want your life to be like. So anyway, the foundation class has been one of the most epic choices I ever made. For me, it changed the trajectory of my whole life. It will do something for you that's different. It empowered me to create money. It empowered the business that you get to participate in now. Created this. I created this from those tools. My whole relationship landscape is totally different. I have ease with my mom that I didn't have for almost 40 years. And if you guys go watch some of my old videos, like I had no ease with my mom. I've got relationships with my siblings that I didn't have before. Everything is different. I have an ease with my body I didn't even know was possible. So the foundation class will do for you what it does for you. But I can't speak highly enough about it. And I would really invite you to go on to accessconsciousness.com, search foundation and just look at those classes and just ask it a question. Hey, truth, if I choose you, will it create more for me? Yes. Cool. Choose one. See what happens. See what changes for you. You might end up too happy, too rich, too sexy. But don't tell anybody I said that. I adore you. If you know somebody that needs these tools, will you please give this to them? And I will see you somewhere around the world. Of course, I'll see you next week. I have a new call dropping on Wednesday. Today's Monday, so if you're watching this in the future, don't worry about it. But if you're watching this live, 6 steps to a 6-figure global access consciousness business. So if that's something you've been asking for, you can go to christeljoycrawford.com/6 steps, and you can join us there. All right, I love your guts. I will see you guys next week. Share the love. Bye.